Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We're in Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 8, verses 1 through 16. Paul says, hey, I want to tell you about your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ down at this other church and what they did. He said, in the midst of real persecution, in the midst of a group of folks who are really living through poverty, they overflowed with joy by being rich in generosity. Now, this is amazing. They're poor. They're going through persecution, and yet they were eager to give, not out of their abundance, not out of their excess, but out of their necessity. They gave out of the very thing they needed every day to live. And they pleaded for the opportunity to give. And I want you to hear this truth. Never deny someone the privilege of being generous. Never deny someone the opportunity to give generously in the name of God. Now, going on, it said, they gave themselves first to the Lord. They didn't just give money. They were giving themselves to the Lord by what they were sharing, and they gave themselves to the ministry. And he goes on to say, he goes to the Corinthians and say, well, since you excel in faith and speech and knowledge and complete earnestness and love, I also hope that you're going to excel in generosity. And he says this, I'm not commanding you to be generous. I'm testing to see whether your love is genuine. Because you see, generosity can't be commanded. It cannot be mandated by law. Generosity is a response, a loving response to the love of God. In fact, that's exactly what Paul says in verse 9. He says, you know the grace of Jesus Christ. You know how he emptied himself of all the abundance of heaven and impoverished himself, made himself poor, so that you could be blessed with all the riches of heaven, so that you could have the riches of God's grace. And so he goes on in verse 10 to say, and here's my judgment about what's best for you. Before, you had a desire to give, and not only that, you were eager to see this done. And so if you have that willingness to give that gift, you should give out of a joyful heart. As he says, our desire is not to make your lives difficult. Our desire is that out of your abundance, out of your plenty, you would share with other brothers and sisters in the faith so that we could help them out. And the goal, he says, now the word is translated as equality, but really the Greek sense is what's fair and right. And so the one who has gathered much did not have too much, and the one who gathered too little wasn't in a position of being impoverished. Here's the point. He doesn't command generosity. He's testing to see whether they love the Lord, because this is not about money. It's not about giving. This is about faith. And generosity is a response to God. And I would really want to challenge you. Has the love of God changed your life and made you generous? Or are you still living in being miserly and afraid of giving? Have a blessed day.